Hi, I'm Ollie, and this is Queer Will's Corner. Today I am going to do my reading wrap-up for the month of October and November. I have had extremely low spoons. I just haven't had the energy to do video, honestly. I read a total of 2 books in October, so I figured that just combining those books with my November books would be fine. So let's just get started, shall we? The first book that I read in October was Vox by Christina Dalcher. The image on the screen is of the book cover. It's got a white background with a face on the right side of the cover, and the title is in big, bold red letters. I read this book for my book club. Honestly, I don't remember much about it because it was a really long time ago, and even when I did have notes written down on it, I didn't have much to say about it. If you've read The Handmaid's Tale, Vox is essentially the modern version of The Handmaid's Tale. It's almost too similar to be anything else. It's essentially The Handmaid's Tale, but with word counters that zap the women or people with alternative lifestyles, which is coded for queer or not completely buying into the system. I think I gave it 3 stars. I enjoyed reading it as much as one can enjoy reading something that is misogynistic and dystopian, and the power balance in the society in the book is way out of balance. The next book that I read in October was An Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green. So I actually got my copy of this book at a book release discussion event, and I got to go with one of my best friends. I love you. And so that was really cool. It is about this alien race puts these sculptures on Earth, and the characters that find this sculpture do a video reacting to the sculptures. They become internet famous, and they do all these talk shows and all this stuff. And so it's kind of about the internet and getting famous on the internet and our culture. My disbelief in the realness of the story, it was easier for me to believe that an alien race would put these things on Earth randomly than it was to believe kind of how April May and her friends got internet famous. It's not written poorly, it's written very well, but I think a part of that just comes from me having a basic understanding of how copyright things work and all of that. It's just a little bit different in the book. The initial video that goes viral, now granted I've never gone viral, so I wouldn't know that part of it. In terms of licensing and who has the rights to videos and all that, just the way that she gets so much money from it right off the bat, that was more unrealistic to me than the aliens thing. Aliens. Couldn't resist. It kept me interested, and it was intriguing enough. I really liked the characters. They all had flaws, and sometimes I kind of just wanted to shake or slap April May. She's a cool character, don't get me wrong. There are just some things where it's just really? You're gonna do that to your friends and the people that care? Really? What? No, stop. Overall, the characters were intriguing and interesting, and they made me laugh a lot, which I always love in a book, to be honest. If you can make me laugh, A+. Overall, it was a good book. I'm not really a fan of how the book ended. No spoilers. No spoilers. I was very, 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 very unsatisfied by how the book ended. It just had the build-up, and then didn't deliver what you were expecting it to deliver, but what it did deliver didn't fit with the story, and it wasn't explained very well. It honestly just kind of felt like Hank Green didn't know what to do with it, didn't want to do the logical thing. It would have made more sense if he had did the logical thing. And I realized a book about aliens coming to Earth and like doing a thing to study humans is not necessarily logical, but I think it would have been okay to do the ending that the reader was kind of led to expect. But overall, I did like it. I gave this 3 stars. And that is it for all of the books that I read in October, which is why I thought it would be fine to do October and November together, because I read all of 2 books in October. So now on to the books that I read in November. The first book that I read in November was Lily and Dunkin by Donna Gephart. I am planning on doing a video review of this book by itself, so I don't want to say too much about it, but given how much I've been able to do anything lately, it might take a while for me to get that review out. This book is about the friendship between a trans girl and a bipolar boy. They're in 8th grade. I do have to give some trigger warnings for this book. There's a lot of dead naming and misgendering Lily. There's a lot of it. And there are also characters in the book that are standing up for Lily and calling Lily Lily and calling her a her, the pronouns that she chooses. But you do have to deal with the dead naming and the misgendering throughout most of the book. But overall, I did like the book. It didn't require too much brain power. It's a middle grade book. Like, it was a good story. I couldn't give it more than 4 stars just because that constant dead naming and misgendering is really difficult to read. The next book that I read in November was The Astonishing Color of After by Emily X.R.Pan. The image on the screen is of a background that fades from red at the top down to purple, and it has a image of a white bird, and then the black text of the title is within the shape of the bird. Some trigger warnings for this book are suicide and depression. The main character in this book loses her mom to suicide. That's kind of where the book starts, is her grieving for her mom. She sees this brilliant, bright red bird. She can't explain why, but she just feels like that's her mom. So this book is really about mourning and grief. Most of the story takes place in Taiwan, I believe, which is really cool, and like you get to see some of their cultural things, how this American girl kind of adapts to the culture shock of that while she's trying to figure out how to communicate with her grandparents, and also trying to figure out how to get her mom back. Like, because she believes that the bird is her mom, she keeps getting these like signs, if you will, that she is convinced means that her mom isn't gone yet, even though she's no longer physically here. It was pretty interesting. She did this thing with incense that was kind of how she like accessed memories of her mom and like learned about who her mom was when she didn't know her. It's about family, and like overall it was a pretty good story, but like it wasn't spectacular. Nothing about it really stuck out to me. So that next book that I read was actually a gift from a friend of mine, and the book is What Happened to Lani Garver by Plum, UCCI. First of all, I have a lot of trigger warnings for this book, and I have to read my notes because there's a lot of them. The trigger warnings for this book are blood, alcoholism, possible eating disorder, a person is drowned, cancer, sexual harassment, specifically phone sex, body gore, violence, intimidation and bullying, gay, queer bashing, suicide, and then there's also language warnings because there's a lot of language in this book. And some of it is the characters referring to themselves these ways, and other times it's other characters very clearly using this language in a derogatory manner. So the language warnings are fag, faggot, the R word, stupid, crazy, the use of the term he, she, as well as slut shaming. Honestly, I feel like I need to put up a spoiler alert warning just for the trigger warnings. Holy cow. This book is really intense. I think had I been a little bit more aware of how intense it was, I wouldn't have started it. The sexual harassment part, which is specifically the phone sex, like that's a big trigger of mine. If I had known that going into this book, I don't know if I would have actually been able to have read it. I appreciate the gift, but I know that A is gonna watch this video, and for that I really appreciate it. I love that you gave me the book. I'm not bashing on you that I didn't like the book. I did, but like it was really intense and I'm just not in a good enough mental health place right now for this to have been a good thing. Lani was an interesting character. I think Claire was pretty clueless, but like some people live their entire lives that way, so it was kind of realistic in that sense. Claire's denial about her potential eating disorder was realistic from what I know of people with an eating disorder. We didn't really get any of her struggle in this book about her eating disorder. She kind of struggled to eat once, kind of just drops out of the story for a while. The book kind of ended up doing that thing that a lot of books that try to tackle the eating disorder thing that they do, where it's just like the character is struggling and then they're just, by the end of the book, they're just not struggling and like they're healed. Like it's just not a problem in their life anymore. And I'm not saying that that's not, it's possible to have growth with an eating disorder, but like the way that it was handled in this book kind of just felt like the author wanted to give Claire's character some depth, but like didn't care enough about researching what happens to a person who has an eating disorder, like what they actually go through and like their mental processes, or like what they actually need to do and the therapy that they need to go through to heal or like try to start healing. It doesn't really cover any of that. She talks to like one or two doctors and then for like 5 minutes. Like by the end of the book, she just doesn't have any problem eating anymore. You never really read her thoughts about food aside from like that one little struggle at the beginning, and then like at the end it's kind of brought up again, like, oh yeah, this thing is still here but it's better now, so it's fine. So I kind of didn't really like that bit of it. So the part that I really liked about this book, Lani as a character is really gender affirming. Lani doesn't exactly fit into the nice, clean, and tidy male or female box, and that's really nice and affirming. And I think that is why I really liked this book. I completely agree with that statement, but like at the same time, all the other characters' reactions to Lani in the book were so scary and like overwhelmingly realistic of what we're living in right now. It kind of just buried the affirmingness of Lani's character because people had very violent reactions to Lani and they didn't treat Lani like a person at all. It just felt a little bit too close to home. I really appreciate that you gave it to me. Overall, I gave it 2 stars, but that's just because of where I'm at with my mental health right now. This book just wasn't really a good fit for me personally, but like that's not a bad book, and like that doesn't mean it can't still be your favorite. I really appreciate that you wanted to share it with me, and I can't wait to see you again. I also read Autoboyography. This book is a young adult gay romance novel between a half-Jewish student and his Mormon teacher's aide. And I put the half-Jewish in quotes because it says that he's half-Jewish just because his parents' beliefs, like it mentions that his father is Jewish, but then like we don't see any of the traditions or any of their culture. It's literally just, I'm half Jewish because my dad is Jewish, but like he doesn't actually believe it or like act on it or like do anything to celebrate it. Whereas the love interest, the Mormon teacher's aide, is like the son of the Mormon head of the church. And I'm not trying to be insensitive. It's 11:30 at night and I'm falling asleep. The main character is in this class, and the whole point of the class is that they have one semester to write a book. The book is the book that he ends up writing, which I think is a pretty cool dynamic. He ends up writing about his romantic relationship with the teacher's aide. There's all this drama about, like, I can't put that in my book because people will know that I'm gay, and I can't write about this because people will know that you're gay. I'm not Mormon. And he kind of puts the love interest on like a pedestal. He can't do anything wrong at the beginning. That's kind of par for the course in a gay YA novel, to be completely honest. So I keep saying gay, but like technically this is gay and bisexual representation. It started out as okay bi representation until it got to the point where a bunch of drama happens and the main character and the love interest like break up. Oh shit, spoilers? I'll put up the black and yellow spoiler image just in case. So spoilers, the protagonist and the love interest break up, and the protagonist rebounds by sleeping with his female best friend. And like, I get it, you're a senior in high school and like that's a thing that seniors in high school might do if they're having, you know, the emotional response of a huge breakup. Their best friend has always had feelings for them, yada yada. But like, the fact that it happened with a character that is supposedly bisexual, people who are bisexual get so much crap about it. Like, people think that bisexuality means that you're like promiscuous and that you're greedy, and like none of this is necessarily true, but also no slut shaming. As soon as he rebounded from the gay love interest to his female best friend, like, it went from the okay bisexual representation to the like, okay, I'm done with this book now because this is just crap representation, to be honest. And then after 343 pages, give or take, just randomly switches perspectives. Like, we spend almost the entire book in one character's perspective, and then we just randomly switch. But like, it's not needed. It's not helpful to the story at all to switch. You could have still told the story without just whiplashing the readers. I was really looking forward to this book, and it kind of just disappointment, to be honest. I think I gave it 3 stars total. It was okay, but it wasn't. It was. The last book that I read in November was actually a book that I picked up at a local author's book release event where 2 of my friends were releasing their own books, and I got to actually meet the author of this book. I consider her a friend of mine too now. The last book that I read in November was This Road Must Go Somewhere and Other Things That I Told Myself by Becky Franzel. So this book is a very honest account of Becky beginning to heal about her grief over losing her partner to suicide. Some trigger warnings for this book are suicide, grief, depression, and also turning to alcohol to soothe. This book is not an easy read, but it was a very real read. There have been some memoir type books that I've read that, like, I don't really feel connected to the author at all. I don't really see their humanity in it at all. I just don't feel connected. And that was not the case with this book at all. My annotation code for like memoir type books, green means something that I liked, but it also means that like I felt connected with them on a human level. And Becky's book, it definitely felt connected to her on a human level. This book is kind of just about like her needing to escape at first, and like ways that she kept memory of her partner alive, just how she moved through the mourning process for him, So for more information about Becky's book, you can go to vbeckysquestforreason.com, and I will put the link to that in the description. If you want information about other people's reviews of this book, just look up the hashtag #thisroadmustgo somewhere. And she is also in the process of writing a follow-up book that she hopes will be done in 2019. So I will link all of that information to find out more about Becky in the description for you. But I gave this book 5 stars. I don't want to say I enjoyed this book because, like, it's a book about her grieving her partner. But I felt very connected on a human level to Becky during this book. And I would definitely reread this, and I would definitely recommend this to everyone. If you're grieving for a loved one right now, it might make you feel like you're not alone, but it may also make your grief feel more real. Maybe take that with a little bit of caution, but overall it's a very good book. It's a pretty short book. The size of the package does not equate the significance of it. So that is all of the books that I read in October and November. If you like the content that I'm creating, please hit the subscribe button and the like button down below. Have you read any of these books? Would you recommend any books for me to try and read in the coming months? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, all videos will always be captioned. Bye!